Good day everyone and welcome to Chapter 7, Accounting Equation. The reporters are Trixie May Algabre, John Mulver Mellon, Josh Templa, Nicole Maraflor, Noreen Katubig, Mian Maliosa, and Desiree Inar. At the end of this lesson, students are expected to number 1. Illustrate the accounting equations, and number 2. Performs operations involving simple cases with the use of accounting equation. Let us first define what is equation. It is a mental model, usually mathematical in nature. So, mura ni siya og formula, include ni siya og numbers, letters, and operational signs like plus, minus, division, or multiplication. So, one of the most famous of all is Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. Mo ang energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, or E is equals to mc squared. This formula completely changed our view of matter and reality because it helped lead the nuclear weapons and global positioning system, or GPS, a radio navigation system that allows land, sea, and airborne users to determine their exact location, velocity, and time 24 hours a day. So this formula utilizes by the whole world. So thus, formulas and equations are not just theories and numerical inscriptions confined to the classroom and scientific laboratories. Through them, humankind could land on the moon, predict market valuations, build massive structures and edifices. So, our basic accounting equation originates from the time of Fra Luca Pacioli. We have already read this one sa chapter 1. Mao ni siya ang assets is equals to liabilities plus equity. Or mao ni siyang A is equals to L plus E. This serves the same function as that of other quantitative formulas like E is equals to mc squared. It is a mental model that binds together the many accounting concepts into one unified proposition. So, mao jud ni siya ang kanang root sa mga daghang mga solution dinhi jud magikan like assets is equals to liabilities plus equity. The accounting equation provides the answer to the important question about the company's financial status. What is owned is equals to what is owed. So, ang left side of the equation, moning assets, nagrepresent ni siya what the company owns. Ang right side, ang liabilities plus equity, nagrepresents how much is owed by the company and to what interest group these are owed. The right side represents the claims of the two important stakeholders to the company. The creditors, represented by liabilities, and the owners, represented by equity. The equation proposes that whatever resources or assets the accounting entity has control of at any time are attributable to the claims of only these two interest groups. Thus, the theory of the accounting equation primarily acknowledges the prominent roles investors and fund contributors have in the business. Mao ang creditors, for example, katong mga lenders, loan providers, and owners. Mao ning mga investors and equity fund providers. Basic accounting equation. So, muna ni ang assets is equals to liabilities plus equity, no? So, it is important to note that any movement in the resources, example, as the company receives or gives assets, it affects the interest of creditors, the owners, or the company itself. So, the accounting equation is the main framework of accounting thought, as it provides a structure that holds together the financial effects of numerous data from business transactions and events and turns them into meaningful information in the financial statements. So it is also like a prism that refracts plain light, transactions and events to produce a colorful rainbow on ang financial statements. So Financial statements are structured to present the company's financial position and financial performance to provide the primary users and with information that is useful in making sound business decisions. So let us proceed to the accounting elements. So the accounting elements are assets, mao ang resources, liabilities, mao ang claims of creditors, ang equity, mao ang claims of owners, ang income, mao ang income ay makapag-increase sa equity and ang expenses mao makapag-decrease sa equity. So being the language of business, these elements are the main vocabulary of accounting itself. So, number 1, elements of financial position. So, the most basic relationships of the company are with its owners, mo ang the company being the investee, unya ang owners mo ang investors. And with its creditors, ang company mao'y debtor and ang debt funders mao ang creditors. So, ang accounting element na gamiton or naadiri kay ang assets, liabilities, and equity. Muna siyang gamiton for financial position. So the entity's financial position informs users of financial information about its liquidity and solvency. Number 2, elements of financial performance. So, the other typical examples of transactional relationships that a company can enter with counterparties are seller or service provider, the customer, supplier, employer, employee, and taxpayer, government. So, while these relationships may not be as visible in the basic accounting equation, the transactions involving them and their effects on the business may create situations when a creditor relationship with counterparties, example, advanced collection from customers, unpaid supplies, salaries, and taxes. Thus, these situations become part of the company's liabilities. However, the relationships pertinent to business operations are not the business operations with counterparties are not visibly represented in the accounting equation but hidden in what goes on to equity. As we all know nga, income increases equity and expenses decreases equity. Now, let us proceed to accounting for transactions under the accrual method. Let us define what is transaction. So, these are any event that needs to be recorded as an accounting entry at a given time. So, we have a number 1, mo ang completion of accountable transaction. These are transactions that are completed by fulfilling the deliverables of each party to the other party. So, meaning na-fulfilled na, like, nahatag na nimo ang ilahang needs or like orders or services na imong gi-offer. So, like, na-fulfilled na ang transaction. So, naa siya types of transactions. 1, or letter A, stand-alone. So, when both parties have completely transferred deliverables and the fulfilled obligations to each other simultaneously. So, mao ni siya ang direct ang iyang process kay one way ra gyud siya ang pag-process sa transaction, mao na siya stand alone. Next kay ang in stages. Ang in stages, when deliverables are transferred in a series of steps. Kani siya na yung mga steps ni siya. Ang una, set up. Ang setup mao ang the recording to initiate the company's receivable or its payable. Or na siya, guys. So, nag-record pa ni siya sa mga receivables or payables. So, number 2, mao ni siya ang fulfillment. When the company transfers its deliverables to the counterparty or vice versa, either partially or fully. Diri nadapit nga like nabayaran na nimo ang mga payable o niya nadawat na nimo ang mga receivable. So number 2, how business transactions affect the accounting equation. So in a transaction where the company incurs a liability, if we were to increase cash, it is an asset, for 50,000, we have to increase accounts payable by 50,000 as well, which is a liability. So mo na ni siya, A is equals to 50,000 equals L 50,000 plus E. Wala may equity, so 0. So, therefore, we have to remember that if we add or subtract something from one side of the equation, we must add or subtract the same amount from the other side.